I want to thank everyone for attending the Life Success Summit. Today I am here with my one of my favorite guests, David Woody. David is an extraordinary guy. He is a two-time TEDx speaker. I'm going to have him do a brief introduction for you, and then we're going to move on with the interview. I'm so excited to have him today, and I can't wait for you to hear the success strategies and the tools that he has so that you can succeed in life. That's what this event is all about, giving you the tools, the resources, and strategies on how to succeed in every area of your life. So, David, if you can, please give us a brief introduction.
So, Lima, one, thank you so much for having me here. It is just, you are one of my favorite people, and to have the honor to be with you and to contribute in any way, shape, or form that I can I'm a lucky guy. And so I am 61 years young. I live in Northern California with please don't take offense to this, with the most beautiful woman in the world, and
Yes.
3 beautiful children. And we're about 30 minutes outside of Sacramento. And what I do is I travel around the country, albeit the world, and I share my story. And the easiest way, Lima, to talk about my story, especially as it relates to success, would be to put it into this. It's my journey from mental hellness to mental wellness. And that's what I'd like to talk about today. And the one thing that I will say there here at the beginning, because we're talking about success, is I am here today on my best days because of other people. Now, certainly I had to do things, I had to take action, but there's no way that I would be here enjoying the greatest mental health that I've ever experienced in my life of 6 decades on this planet without extraordinary people who have partnered with me. And so I just want to make sure that I got that in, because I'm a product of those people.
Wow. Wow. Yeah. Yeah, we all need, help. We all need other people. I know for myself, I've experienced the same thing. So I'm happy that you said that. So what happened, on August the 31st, 2011? I just want to start off like that.
Yeah. And that's a day. I mean, we all have days, days that we will never forget. And of course, that one will be the ultimate. And that was the day that I was going to kill myself. That was the day that I call depression a monster. And it really is. And the monster on that day, I was 48 years old, Lima. The monster on that day convinced me beyond a shadow of a doubt that I was worthless, that I was useless, I was stupid, I was pitiful, I was grotesque, I was ugly, that I was a burden. And probably the most damning lie that I believed to be true was that if I killed myself, everybody in my life would be much better off without me. And so it was interesting. I'm always looking for symbolism. At the time, my pickup truck that I had was fire engine red. Like my vehicle was emblematic of the crisis that was inside of me. And so I was married to an amazing woman who I thank God I'm still dear friends with. And I left her sleeping, and I got in that red pickup truck and I drove about 20 minutes to what's known as the Forest Hill Bridge. Now, we're about 2 hours away from San Francisco, and of course, you think about the Golden Gate Bridge. Well, this is the Forest Hill Bridge. In Lima, at 730 feet tall, it's 500 feet further off the ground than its more famous cousin. So I parked my vehicle, made my way to the midpoint of the bridge, pressed my body up against the barrier, arms out, leaned over. And at that point, then time, as I remember, stopped. Because I was just looking down 730 feet and realized it takes a body 7.5 seconds to fall 730 feet. I was looking at that water, focused. And thank God, somebody picked up the phone and called. So driver thought, okay, this is not good. Called 911, and a sheriff's deputy approached me from the left-hand side in Lima. He didn't make contact with me at all. He made connection.
Wow.
The truth is, success is all about connection, because connection creates this thing called hope. And hope is this thing that saves lives. So I was taken off the bridge to an emergency room, and then ultimately to a psychiatric ward where I'd spend the next 15 days. And thus began this journey from mental illness to the space where I am now, with occasional dips in this place of mental wellness.
Wow. Wow. That's powerful. That is powerful. Yeah. So, thank God for the, sheriff that was there.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's amazing. So what caused you to become depressed and then acutely suicidal? Like, how did all of that happen?
So really, if I look at it, it happened. I can like chart pretty much exactly when I became depressed and suicidal, and I was 12 years old. And I got to back up a little bit. I'm the youngest of 4 boys. I have 3 extraordinary, amazing brothers who I love and adore. And they are 6, 9, and 11 years older than I. They are pivotal. They're foundational in my life. And so I'm the youngest. We lost our father, James Hamilton Bartley. Everybody called him Ham. He died when he was just 42 years old, Lima. And I was just
Wow.
7. And then if so, the thing about my father, while he died of lung cancer because he was a smoker back in the late 60s, and that was not good, he also suffered terribly from clinical depression. And my grandfather had killed himself. So I had the genetics, but so did my other 3 brothers, but they have no depression. They have no mental illness. So what happened to me? Well, what happened to me was when I was 12 and I wanted to be a Boy Scout, and I joined the Boy Scouts, and early on I was singled out and ultimately raped and sodomized on repeat occasions by a Boy Scout leader. And every time this villain, this monster, this thing did those unimaginable things to me, Lima, before he would let me go, he always said, David, don't forget, these are initiations and all the boys go through it, but we never talk about it.
Wow.
And Lima, so I can, at 61 years old, I know I have fought this thing for 50 years. It started when I was 12 years old. That's because thank God my brothers, they're not saddled with that. And I don't, but I know where it began.
Wow. Wow. So how important is self-care in your life right now?
Oh, there's nothing more important. It is this. What I tell people is I have put my self-care on a pedestal. Because the truth is, I cannot give from an empty well. And for me, because this illness that I still have to, I have to make sure that I'm ready to face it, is it attacks my body, my mind, and my spirit. And I'm not talking from the place of religion. I'm talking personality, essence, the invisible part of each of us, that energetic aspect to us. So over the years, and it continues to be refined, especially of late, it's diet, it's sleep, it's exercise, it's time outside, it's 4 medications, it's regular appointments for therapy, it's a support group, it's purposeful, meaningful work. It's also spiritual aspects, but I had to add another component at the end of last year, because at the end of last year, even though I was doing all the things, because I'm very compliant, Lima, at the end of last year, I fell into the worst depression of my life, and it made no sense.
Wow.
And my family, my team, didn't know what to do, but they pooled together. I was incapacitated. And they got me into a therapy I knew of, but like most was hesitant, but thank God we went through. It's called ECT, or electroconvulsive therapy, shock therapy.
Wow.
Lima, I have had since the beginning of the year 32 sessions. Number 33 is on August 9th. And Lima, you know what I can tell you is it has changed my life.
Wow.
It has taken depression and completely eliminated it.
Wow.
It has taken suicidal thinking and completely eliminated it.
Wow.
Now, I'm not in a place of nirvana. You know, I get, and it's interesting. And I had this, to just give you a comparison. So I'm fit, I'm healthy, and for whatever reason, my left hip has decided to become completely degenerative and I got to get a new hip. So right now it hurts like the dickens. In
Wow.
the past, pain would put me into a place of depression. And I'm in that place of depression, I would be in a place of being suicidal. And this thing hurts. And you know what I can tell you, Lima? I'm not depressed.
Wow.
It hurts. I'm disappointed. I'm upset, but I'm not depressed. That's what ECT has done for me. It is just, and there's a tremendous amount of misinformation and fear around it. And all I can tell people is call me, and I'm happy to tell you I've had 32 sessions of this. And I have, it's not just taken away my depression, Lima. It has given me access to parts of my personality that I didn't know existed.
Wow.
It's so self-care, all that. It's kind of a long-winded answer. I'm so sorry. It's pretty important.
Yeah, that is very important. Yeah, very important.
Yeah, it is.
I love that. I'm gonna have to definitely, um, look up more information and do more research on that because that sounds amazing.
Yeah, when it works, it is. And most people are afraid of it because they think, you're going to cause a seizure and that's going to be helpful. And I'm like, it's basically my entire brain has been rewired. It's phenomenal.
Wow.
It is. And the people who do it
Mm-hmm.
are some of the finest human beings on the planet. They are
Wow.
incredible. I've seen
Wow.
them 32 times.
Mm-mm-mm.
Like you
Wow.
become tight, and it was, it was amazing.
Wow. That's powerful. I love it. I love it.
Yeah,
It's so inspirational.
it's good
Wow.
stuff. It is really good stuff.
So, what is it like to live with mental illness? Could you tell us what it's been like for you?
Yeah, and I think the first thing to distinguish is what it's not. Because I
Mm-hmm.
think a lot of folks who are looking to understand mental illness, and let's just narrow it down to depression, because there's lots of different things we can talk about. And I think a lot of people think, okay, well, depression, you're really, really sad. And I know what it's like to be really, really sad. So I know what it's like to be depressed. And I'm like, no, you don't. And because depression and sadness are not the same thing. And you know who gave me the words to be able to share now here? A second grader. Because I get to
Wow.
work with young kids about emotions and everything else. And I asked the second grade class, I said, hey, do you think, is there a difference between sadness and depression? And the kids, Lima, looked at me like I was an idiot. They said, of course there is. The kids are so smart.
Yes.
And I said, okay. And I was kind of being a little cocky. And I said, okay. Because I didn't, I knew there was, but I never thought, like, how do you put it into words? And I said, okay, well, who wants to tell me what's the difference? Little boy in the front row, like, remember when we had the answer and, we put our hands up and we're raising it back and forth. And I said, brother, lay it on me, man. What's the difference between sadness and depression? He said, when you're sad, you know why. When you're depressed, you don't.
Wow. Wow. Wow.
Oh
Wow.
my God. Like, yes, that's exactly right.
Mm-mm-mm.
Yes, it's not sadness. It can be like sadness, but it's not sadness.
Mm.
It's lethargy. It's for me, individual, and I don't know. It's interesting. I need to ask this question to other folks who suffer from this because I've never thought to ask anybody else. For me, it's primarily acute, concentrated self-hatred.
Wow.
Just awful self-hatred.
Wow. Wow.
I I I I have not. I'm still striving to have a day where I would like myself. I don't know what that.
Wow.
I don't know what that's like. I don't.
Wow. Oh, wow. That's powerful. I've
Yeah.
never, wow.
So it's just, and the other thing about depression, that because people think, well, gosh, how could you, how could you think all those things? And there's a great chef, famous chef, David Chang, and Chef Chang has bipolar. And here's what the chef says about depression. When you're depressed, you're convinced that everything you think is true. I'm like, oh, chef, my God. And
Wow.
you have people who are like, you got a second grader and you got this famous chef that can articulate so much. Like, it's not this thing, it's this thing.
Mm-hmm.
And then you're in this place of being convinced, and you don't want to die.
Yes.
You want your pain to end.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a very different thing. Those are not the same things. They're
Wow.
not. But you become convinced that the only way for your pain to die is to kill yourself.
Wow.
You gotta make sure you have it in the right order,
Mm-hmm.
because it's an order.
Wow.
So
Wow. Wow. That's powerful. So what does it take um to go from, as you say, mental healthness to mental wellness?
it really is, the vehicle is connection. I mean, one, self-care. So let's just assume, doing all the things. I'm going to ECT. I saw my psychiatrist on Thursday. I take my meds. I worked out this morning. The whole thing's about connection. I am convinced. Connection creates hope. Hope saves lives. But let me break it down. So first thing we have to say, what is connection? So we're going to use Brene Brown. So of course, anything Brene Brown says is going to be amazing. It's like Simon Sinek.
Yeah.
So here's what Brene Brown says. I define connection as the energy that exists between people when they feel seen, heard, and valued, when they can give and receive without judgment, and they derive strength and sustenance from the relationship. You know what has no chance in that? Depression. Depression has no chance in that. Suicide has no chance in that. But you know why? Because, or what comes out of connection always, never fails, when you're seen, heard, and valued, like you're creating the space for me right now, I feel hope.
Yeah.
Not just in the instance where I'm going to kill myself, but I'm just on a Monday afternoon. And you know what hope is? Defined in the dictionary. The feeling that what is wanted can be had.
Wow.
So just think about, so I'm suicidal, I'm depressed, I'm isolated, and nothing good's going to happen. Lima comes along, and she's Lima because she's got a servant's heart, and creates this connection in which I feel seen, heard, and valued. And now I have the feeling of hope. The feeling that what is wanted can be had. Well, what I want is I want to feel like I'm not worthless. I want to feel like my pain can end. Well, that's an automatic, I'm safe in the place of hope. So then the question becomes, okay, how do you create connection?
Wow.
3 simple ways: recognition, understanding, and expression. So when I teach people, I say, in the longer version is, when you recognize, just become great at remembering and using somebody's name. It's their name.
Yep.
Just when it's next time you go out to eat and the server comes, and either they identify themselves or they have or not, or if you ask their name, every time they come back to the table, use their name.
Yeah.
And watch the evolution of the relationship in that 1 hour that you were with that human being, because you have acknowledged them.
Wow.
Just try that. And then the second part is understanding. Like we see stuff every day that makes no sense. We look at somebody who's like, how could you be suicidal? So, but instead of asking that person, why are you suicidal? Ask that person, what brought you to that place? What caused that? And you know what the key difference is there? Is to use the word what instead of why.
Wow.
Why is a terrible word. All why questions put you in defensive mode. Why are you doing that?
Okay.
What inspired you to do that?
Okay.
Oh my gosh, you're going to get a totally different answer because it's non-threatening.
Yeah. Wow.
Change the foundation of your question in your inquiry. You're leveraging curiosity, which is a beautiful thing, to arrive at this fertile place of understanding. And then, because what you do ultimately is you allow a soul person, I like to use the word soul, to tell their story. Because you know what Maya Angelou says? There's no greater agony than bearing the weight of an untold story.
Wow.
And so, you know how many people, how many souls in our world, Lima, are out there with an untold story? And all we need to do is like, hey, would you please share your story with me? And you know what we need to do? We just need to listen.
Wow.
That's all. Just listen. Not to do anything else. Just listen.
Yeah.
And then the last is expression. We got to let people know how we feel.
Yeah.
So let me tell you an absolutely amazing story. So I
Okay.
do a lot of work with the Army, and I love it. And so I was working with an Army unit, and had been there for 2-3 days, and it was led by an amazing man, Lieutenant Colonel Dan Trouse. So last day, Lima, he says to me, David, would you please come to my office? And I said, absolutely, sir. So I go to his office. I said, sir, guys, you know what? Thank you so much for allowing me to present. And he said, David, no, let me thank you. He said, what you've shared with all my soldiers, and this was hundreds of soldiers, what you shared is going to make an enormous difference. You have no idea. But he said, David, I am so angry. And I was like, oh no. And I thought, oh God, Lima, did I overshare? And then he said, David, I'm not mad at you. And I'm like, okay. He said, David, what happened to you in the Boy Scouts, I can't process it. I can't accept it. I can't, I just, David, I can't understand. I just don't know. I don't know what to do. I mean, he was incredibly upset. And then he took his hand and he pulled out his wallet and pulls out, looks like a credit card. And so as you can imagine, I'm totally confused. And then he turns the card towards me and he says, David, I was an Eagle Scout in the Boy Scouts. So David, on the day that you become an Eagle Scout, they give you one of these. It's an Eagle Scout card. I got mine on November 3rd, 1998. David, I always have my card. Everything that I see as good about me as a husband, as a leader, as a father, as a human being, I learned in the Boy Scouts.
Wow. Wow.
But I can't reconcile. And this man was incredibly upset.
Yeah.
And he showed me his card, and then he handed me the card, and I held it, Lehman, in my hand, and I thought, and I said, they said, wow, sir, that is, it's amazing. It's an incredible accomplishment. And I went to give the card back, and he said, no, you keep it. You've earned it.
Wow. Wow. Wow.
So I have this man's card and always will, because he gave me part of himself in an effort to try to take away what had happened. That's the power of expression. No matter what we're expressing, it could be a text, it could be an Eagle Scout card. And Lima, I can't tell you how many times at the end of a speech an Eagle Scout has come up to me and shown me their card.
Wow.
And he said, man, that's amazing that he gave you his card. I said, yes, it is. And let me finish with a quote, if I may, that really, I think, sums up all the questions that you have so beautifully asked. And it's from Dr. Drew Ramsey. And Dr. Ramsey is an esteemed psychiatrist. He's an author. He's a He's a professor from Columbia. He's incredible. You can find him on Instagram. He's an extraordinary human being. But if nothing else, you can forget everything that I said. But here's how we will be successful as a society, is if we realize how right this man is. And here's what he says. Someone you see today is thinking about killing themselves.
Wow.
Your smile, your question, your love could save them. Trust me, they told me it did.
Wow. Wow. We go through life, we never think about that, just every day. Like, just, we never even think about that at all.
Nope.
Wow. This has made me even more aware now. And I'll be more conscious because of this. That's why I like doing these interviews. I get to learn so much, and this is just such a blessing. Wow.
Well, thank you so much. Being in your presence, I feel seen, heard, and valued. You create connection and you create hope. That's what you do.
Wow. Thanks for telling me that. What can you do, like if someone, like, in a response to a crisis of suicide, what can we do in that situation?
Where suicide has happened, or
yeah, like in response to some type of, or someone, I guess someone maybe that's contemplating suicide.
Yeah.
What can we do? Yeah.
I think, and that's a great question. And I think the single best thing we can do is to have a conversation with them. And it could be something like this. It could just say, I understand you are in a really incredibly difficult place.
Yes.
And I cannot imagine how much this must hurt. Would it help, or would you please, I think I'd rather this, would you please share with me, how are you feeling?
Wow.
Because depression is depression impacts thought, but I think I think it initiates by thought, becomes a feeling, which then transforms into a belief, which ultimately results in an action. Mm-hmm. So if we can somehow interrupt that, 1, 2, 3, 4, and I think a lot of times, Lima, it's just about allowing somebody to just tell me your story. So, because if you look at, just kind of to expand what the great Maya Angelou said, so if there is no greater agony than bearing the weight of an untold story, when that story is told, well, then it stands to reason that the weight is at least less than it was before. Maybe it's not totally gone, but at least it's less. There's a Dr. Rachel Naomi Remen is an amazing human being, and she has a bunch of quotes. And I love the one that she has about listening that says, our listening creates a sanctuary in the homeless parts in another person.
Wow.
So to go back to the question is, would you please share with me, how are you feeling? And what we need to do is just listen.
Wow.
And then at the end of it, the next thing, potentially, possibly best thing to say would be like, how can I best support you? So I'll share with you, if I may, a story. And this is not, I am the most ordinary person on the planet. I can promise you. Talk to my family. So a dear friend of mine has a son who I adore. I don't know him real well, but I just love this guy. And he's probably in his 40s, so he's probably 20 years younger than I am. So anyway, his mom called me out of the blue and said, Carl is like in a terrible place. And I'm like, oh no. And she said, would you talk to him? I said, of course I would talk to him. So we talked, and I said, my brother, my God, what's going on? Share with me how you feel. And he shared what was going on. And then I said, try to follow my own guidance. I said, what can I do to support you? And he said, just stay in touch. And I said, okay. And he's a texter. So I said, no problem. So Lima, over the next like 2 months, I just text. And, find silly stuff on the internet, but every text had, I love you from me, because I love him dearly.
Wow.
And so sometimes it would be like 2 days before I heard back from him, but it would always be like, hey, thanks, or just an emoji or something simple. And then, then the other day, I get a text from Carl. Hey, brother, just want to let you know, I think I've turned a corner. And I'm feeling better. Thanks for reminding me who I am.
Wow.
Just
Wow.
it's like if Carl felt half as good as I did for like showing up as a good human being.
Wow.
I'm like, I can't believe it. I mean, I talk about this, but I have a lot of instances in which I see examples of it coming to fruition. And every time I do, I shouldn't be surprised, but I am. And I'm an optimist, but it's just like, man, this really does work. And so I think, if you create, if we just become regular in this, but just becomes like who we are, when we go to the restaurant, we use that person's name every single time they come back to the table, and the person at the gym, when we go check in, we remember their name, and whatever it is, it's I don't know. So my eldest brother, when we lost our father, he really, at that point, Lima, I was 7, he was 18. He really stepped in as my dad, and
Wow.
he's been that way. So 42, that's a 4 and a 2 years in the Army. Enlisted, became a 2-star general.
Wow. Wow.
He's my guy.
Wow. Wow.
So he and my fiance, they're my 2 North Stars. Like, those are my guiding lights. So my brother lives in the Midwest. I live in California. Let me tell you how, since the end of last year, when I fell into the worst depression of my life, let me tell you how and I'm using that word intentionally, every day since, how my day starts. When I wake up, there is a text on my phone from my 72-year-old brother. And the text is always formatted this way. The first part is what he's going to do that day. The second part is guidance from me on what he suggests that I focus on. Here, do this, this, and this, like a dad would. And then at the bottom, a motivational quote.
Wow.
Every single day.
Wow.
And then you know what happens in the evening, about 8:30 California time? We talk on the phone.
Wow. Wow.
And we review the day.
That's powerful. Wow.
It's just like, it's amazing. And so we can do that for each other.
Yes.
God love him. He just a week ago had stem cells put into his ankle. He had a medical procedure. I woke up on this Wednesday a week ago, and there was no text. And I thought, oh my God, the guy's having he's having a procedure. Like 15 minutes later, there's the text. Dude, you just had a medical procedure. But like, that's how much this man loves me.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, and for the success, he holds me accountable.
Yes.
Like, he's not a touchy-feely per se. I mean, he always tells me he loves me.
Yes.
And I know how proud he is of me. But he's also will, if I've taken a turn, he's like, David, I mean, he's a commander. He knows what it is. So it's all this. So, but it's amazing.
Yeah.
It's just like, that's hope.
Yes.
This right here, this is suicide prevention. That's what this is.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, it's so I think to go back to the original question is what these is to allow a soul to express how they feel. And in response, we just listen. And then we ask, how can I support you?
Wow.
That's it.
Wow.
It's nothing more complicated than that.
Wow. I love this. I love this so much. Just this time that we spent together, like I'm a different person.
You're
Like
very,
there's
wow.
some, you know, something happened, and you made me more aware. Now I'll be more conscious, the way that I ask questions in certain situations, and to be, to pay attention more. Um, so I really appreciate this. This was just really amazing. I'm so happy that you're open and available to tell your story and to encourage everyone. And just you doing this today, all of the steps that you've given us, these tools, these strategies, this is a way that you are successful,
Mm,
on your journey. And I know that it's going to help a lot of other individuals to be successful on their journey. If they're experiencing this, or if they know someone else that is, they'll know what to do and how to do it. And so I thank you for that, because that's the whole reason why we're having this Life Success Summit. So thank you so much, David, for the transformation that's taking place in me, and that's going to be taking place in a lot of others, just from them having the opportunity to see this interview. So thank you.
absolutely, Lima. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
And so what I want to do also too is let everyone that know that David also has a free gift that he's going to be giving away to the audience. And David, if you could let everyone know what that gift is.
So I wrote a book called, very short book. It's called My Troubled Mind Now Calm. And I'm a storyteller. That's probably kind of evident. And so I will send that to my beloved friend, my partner, Lima, so that anybody who wants it is more than happy to enjoy a copy of that.
That's wonderful. That's wonderful. Thank you so much. Thank you for that. And also too, David has an offer that he has available too, that he's going to um, uh, express and give to you as well. David, if you could let everyone know what that is.
So for the people who might be suffering and hearing this, and maybe are curious about ECT as a potential therapy, or if you just want to talk, just the offer is, please call me. And my telephone number is 916-247-6389. No one else is going to answer the phone. It's going to be me. I promise you. And I'm here. I just want to give back what has been given to me and what continues to be given to me every single day.
Wow. Wow. Thank you so much, David. Thank you for taking your time out to sit with me today and the opportunity for us to talk. I really appreciate that. And so everyone, you will be getting the free gift, and you also have David's personal phone number. So that is amazing. So if you ever happen to, just want to talk to him or have any questions, you can give him a call. So thank you so much, David, and we appreciate everything. We're going to continue tomorrow with the next interview for the Life Success Summit. Thank you so much.